Do you own a Toyota Tundra, or really any vehicle for that matter, and are your brakes kind of scary soft? Like when you push on the pedal, it's not really feeling great. Well, this Four Uncles power bleeder might be the product for you. Join me? Good morning, happy Saturday, welcome back to the channel. Today I am taking a look at the Four Uncles vacuum brake oil extractor and bleeder kit. Mainly this is for bleeding the brakes. This is mainly for bleeding the brakes solo, but at the same time you're putting the power of a air compressor behind it with a reservoir so you don't run it dry to get all of the air out of the system. The problem I have with my 2007 Toyota Tundra is I had the rear axle replaced, and ever since then the brakes, they just don't feel all there because you had to take the brakes apart to work on the axle. So we did a bleeding of it, normal gravity bleeding. Somebody's in the car, push the pedal, turn it on or open the valve, open and closed. We did that, still it's not all there. Did some reading online, and apparently Toyota Tundras may be pretty prone to having issues when you're just doing gravity bleeding or just force bleeding in general. So I picked up this Four Uncles kit off of Amazon, link below, and we're gonna see, does it make it better? Does it feel better? Obviously I can't show you how soft it is. I can push on the pedal and you can see it almost go to the floor, apart from like maybe an inch and a half until it like really grabs. It just doesn't feel right. So we're gonna open this power bleeder up and buy Four Uncles, see what it does. So let's start with opening it up and see what we get inside. Alright, so in the box for the power bleeder you get a hose assembly. It has some brass fittings on one end, and it looks like it already has one of the it has like these rubber connectors that go onto the bleeder assembly on the caliper. It also comes with a whole mess of different size connections, because trucks might have a bigger coupler for the bleeder screw than a car. It also has different funnel types for if you want to extract oil from the engine or from anything really. So you got a bunch of that stuff. You have this reservoir here. Do I know what it does yet? No, but we're going to find out together. I think the concept is you connect an air hose to it on a compressor, and then you can use this and it'll pressurize. And then on this end, I believe this is, I don't know yet. We'll find out together. So I'm going to read the instructions for once, so you don't have to. So with this component, this is the trigger right here. This is what and there's the locking ring right next to it right here. This will allow you to lock it so it stays engaged. This piece right here on the end is a silencer, so it is quieter. And then the bleeding hose will attach to this funnel that's sitting right here on top. You can see it sitting right here. This is what will actually do the bleeding. So this is the bottle that will keep the reservoir from going dry. This is what you would put the new brake fluid in, and then this clamp will ensure that it stays connected to the brake reservoir. And then we use this silicone hose right here, and then that will connect this to the overall system. So I'm going to go through the instructions. We'll take this one step at a time. I'm going to take the rear wheels off of this Toyota Tundra, and for general purposes, you should always start your brake bleeding from the rear passenger side, so the furthest point. So in a Toyota Tundra and most vehicles, the brake reservoir, the master cylinder, is located on the driver's side, like right in front of the steering wheel. And you want to bleed the area furthest from that point and then work your way closer. So we're going to go from the passenger rear, then we're going to do the driver rear, then we're going to do the passenger front, and then driver front. So furthest to closest to work all the air out of the system. And with this, I don't need anyone here to push the pedal. So let me get this set up and take the wheels off, and we'll check this out, see if it works, see if my brake pressure improves. You have to take my word for it, since I can't just show brake pedal feel. So let's go. This is how you connect the air compressor on the Four Brothers you connect it right here in the back. So I already have an existing air compressor hose. Again, this is not included with this unit. So you connect this back here. And then when we looked at those silicone hoses, one of them has a straw on it. So you would take this straw, and this connects to that top port that we showed in the beginning, and would pop off the brake caliper or the master cylinder right here, and you stick the straw in, and then by pressing on this top right here, it starts to apply vacuum, and you can pre-empty the reservoir of old fluid. I don't need to do that because my fluid is still new. I'm just bleeding the system, so I don't need to take out any of this because it's not old fluid. But this is how you would start to empty it out, because, you know, people use like a turkey baster, or they just put new fluid right on top of the old fluid and just send it through. So this is how you would vacuum out the initial bit. So this is also by pushing this lever here. So every time I press this, it starts to suck the fluid and remove it. And then next, this is the new fluid reservoir. So you take off the cap right here, that, you know, safely on the battery terminal, and we're gonna fill it up with brake fluid of choice. In my case, this is .3 fluid. Remember, you can always put it back in the bottle. Last thing you want is to run the master brake cylinder dry, because that requires a whole lot more work than just putting it back in this bottle when you're done. So might as well put it in there, unless you're like me and you're scared you're gonna spill it everywhere. So put this cap back on. I'm looking down the tube, and so when the switch right here is straight up and down, it's on. So when it's like this, it's off. So I can theoretically turn it upside down and not make a mess. Yeah. So this way, horizontally, when sitting like this, it means it's off. So next, we will just position this like so. You put it into the reservoir like that, and then you can adjust this collar and then turn the nut right here, and this will keep pressure on the collar. So now I can frankly turn this back on. So it almost acts like a like, you know, if you have like a gerbil or like a rabbit, it will automatically fill up this reservoir if it runs dry. You just want to make sure this is super tight, so it's not going to, you know, slip off when you're under the vehicle doing bleeding, and then this thing slips off and you have a mess everywhere. So I'm going to get this really tight, so I know it's not going anywhere, and I'll turn it back on. Now I know my work up here is done. It will keep this master cylinder right here full. Keep it full. Blah, 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 blah. All right, now we're at the rear passenger brake. So I swapped out the cylinder right here. So you'll see, push the button down, this comes out. So I just push this in till it locks in. And this is the one that it came with. This is the one that came installed on it. It looked pretty tight, but it does fit on the bleeder. You got to really force it on, which is good because you want it to be a tight fit. So like, I'll force it on the bleeder right there. And now I need to get a wrench, which I didn't get. All right, so in the instance of this Toyota Tundra, it is an 8. There we go. So now I got the closed end of the wrench on here, on the bleeder. Now I just got to open it up. And I can apply some vacuum by pushing on this lever. And wow, that is some dirty fluid already coming out. That's a lot of air. I'm also modulating how much air I put in because I have the compressor up pretty high, so maybe it's pulling too much. So 20 psi full throttle really almost gives it too much still. So if I just give it I'm going like barely, like quarter throttle maybe. These are all the connectors. I'm still using the connector it came with. So again, here's the connector. My wrench is already on there. Just gonna pop that open, or pop the connector on, and then open the valve. Actually, I think in some ways it's best if you have the valve, if you have this thing on the top, because you know air is going to go up. So have the hose up here, and then same deal. Just apply a little bit of vacuum. Wow, that took a lot before it actually started pulling. Interesting. You probably heard it was probably 3 seconds of like not full throttle, but just a little bit. I'm not getting any bubbles, but I definitely got a good stream of nothing before the fluid came. More micro bubbles, but not the big bubbles like the other side. So that's very interesting. I'll let you see that here. See, there's a bunch of little micro bubbles in there, but I wasn't getting all the big bubbles like I was before. So now I can just take this off, hold this, and it'll clear the line. Thinking I want to go put my foot on that brake pedal. I'm very curious how it feels now. So I cycled the truck on. Initially, brake pedal was like firm as can be. So, and I pumped the brakes, and I saw a big bubble appeared in the reservoir. So I'm just going to reconnect this real quick. And I want to see if anything comes out or whatnot. Because it's felt a little bit firmer, but you can't really tell unless you're driving sometimes. Getting micro bubbles. Not big bubbles, so that's good. I want to run to the other side and see what it looks like over there. I have a theory. Well, I'll leave it at that. I'm going to go out on a limb here. This is my theory. So, turned the truck on, cycled it, hit the brakes a few times, turned it off. And you can light me up in the comments, because by the time this video gets out, hopefully this will be fixed. I did that, and I put the bleeder on the passenger side again. Same thing, large bubbles, constant bubbles. I can't push the trigger on this thing all the way down and without getting bubbles like crazy. However, I come over here to this side with a new caliper, push it down all the way. It takes a second to get through the initial air in the line, air in that little cap. But no major bubbles. It's a solid fluid. Nothing, not even micro bubbles. So that's telling me that this is telling me that potentially I have a bad caliper on that side. I think it's original. Could be a bad line, but most likely a bad caliper if it's original. So I'm going to run to Advance Auto, grab a new caliper if they have it, and we'll swap out another one. But we'll use the magic of YouTube to skip past that, because this isn't about replacing calipers on Tundras, but good lesson so far. So be right back. And we're back. New caliper installed on here. I tightened everything up when I left, and I'm glad I cleaned the floor, because when I got back there was a steady drip. Not that I could see, but there was still drips of brake fluid under here. So let's find out. So I replaced, so you can catch up where I am. I replaced the caliper. You can see it's still loose. I have not opened the bleeder to remove the fluid yet, or remove the air and then the fluid. So you're with me as soon as I start using this bleeder on a brand new caliper. So I'll get you nice and close. So bleeder is now open. So far, just air. And I realized I could pump the brakes, but I'm just trying to see what happens if I just bleed it. Because right now, like, the piston's not compressed yet. It's still loose. I want to see what will happen if I just do it like this. I'm getting micro bubbles, but nothing big anymore. Toyota Tundra brakes. So I fixed it. Thanks to this UNCLES system, I was able to find that I had a bad caliper, another bad caliper, on the rear passenger side of the Tundra. I was getting constant bubbles out of that thing. So the compressor-driven brake bleeding system is really nice. I definitely recommended it. I'll link to it down below. I did find out that this is not anything to do with the product, but the Toyota Tundra brake bleeding system is very weird. You have to do front passenger, front driver, rear driver. That's different. That's what the factory service manual says. Versus like any other car, you would go in like the furthest point and then work your way closer. So moral of that story is follow the factory service manual. But apart from that, this four uncles, did I say four brothers? I think it's four uncles compressor system, absolutely perfect. I didn't need a second person here to bleed brakes. I'm definitely going to use this for every brake job going forward. It made it so easy, and it started pulling the fluid so well, and I didn't have to worry about it running out of fluid on the reservoir. That's always a fear, and that I'm going to drain it dry and then have more problems. So definitely recommend it. It's not that expensive, and it's definitely worth it if you're doing brake jobs solo. You don't have somebody to come out there and pump the brakes every couple minutes when you're working on the system. So definitely recommend it. 2 thumbs up. I'll drop a link below. It helps the channel if you use the link to buy it, but totally up to you. It doesn't matter to me if you buy it on there or not. If you like the product, go ahead and get it any way you can, the cheapest you can. If you like this kind of content, definitely consider subscribing below. That does help the channel. Drop a thumbs up for the video if you like the video. And if there's any questions about this setup or bleeding brakes on a freaking Toyota Tundra, frustrating and dirty work. But yeah, I'll see you next time. Peace.